Masashi Kishimoto is back, and Samurai 8 is finally here. It's exciting to be able to read through and enjoy Kishimoto's work again, and for this pilot chapter we were blessed with 73 pages of content to explore this new world with. This chapter was far from perfect, however, and I definitely have some gripes I'm going to be going through, but that by no means that I hated it. Masashi most certainly hooked me, and I will definitely be following the series, but I'm not going to simply ignore its faults. Hello everyone, I'm Ozzy, and this is my Samurai 8 Tales of Hachimaru Chapter 1 analysis. Samurai 8 Tales of Hachimaru is a sci-fi adventure series, written by Masashi Kishimoto, the creator of Naruto, and drawn by Akira Okubo, a longtime editor of his. From what we can gather, the series is about samurais in space, but more specifically a certain samurai on a mission from his master to find 7 keys to unlock Pandora's box and save the galaxy. I'm going to stop here and say, for those unaware, that Pandora's box is infamously known for being something that at all costs must remain closed. So the thought that our heroes are on a quest to open it is laughably naive, and a bit on the nose if Kishimoto is going for that kind of twist. But for now, that's up to speculation. Meet Hachimaru, the absolute definition of a sickly kid, who as far as we are aware has never ventured outside of his house due to the frail state of his body and the tank-sized life support machine that chains him down. I like him. To be honest, we haven't really been given a reason to like him outside of his self-sacrifice near the end of the chapter. He's ungrateful, cowardly, and weak, but I like him. Especially his samurai design, and the fact that his glasses come to the side when he isn't using them, similar to Raiden or various other cyborgs in anime or gaming. Maybe I just like him for what he could potentially be, as Dharma says, but for now there isn't any reason other than I just do. After a series of events, Hachimaru is reincarnated into a cyborg, which in this series we'll be calling samurai. Samurai are beings blessed with seemingly undying bodies, and blades forged from their souls, as well as familiars that merge with them to form an armor around them. Everything about this is pure cool for me. It's eerie and organic, yet almost completely mechanical. I also love how each armor and blade is distinct. By the end of the chapter, Hachimaru has a new body, and his newfound master Dharma, who is revealed to be the aforementioned samurai on a mission, has found one of the 7 keys and intends to take Hachimaru along in search of the rest. Let's get into some of the problems I had with this chapter, and the series overall thus far. For the most part, my critiques on the chapter boil down to a lack of clarity. Kishimoto attempts to do too much at once in this debut. Although there are some points I won't mention or be too hard on, knowing that there will be time in future chapters to expand, some parts of this initial story are just messy. Starting at the top, we have Dharma's sleep mode being undone. First of all, do all samurai have sleep modes? That seems unnecessary as a concept, but more importantly, when did it happen? Hachimaru painted in one of the eyes, then said a prayer. Considering the Japanese theming, I could be missing something that is a common cultural reference, so I won't give this issue too much weight, but it honestly feels like a poor attempt to move the plot along. The next issue I saw with this chapter was the whole video game samurai propaganda. Conceptually, I'm open to this idea, but this was so poorly executed. This piece of exposition comes out of nowhere right as the action begins, and it feels so out of place. It could have easily been a talking point previous to this scene when they were just sitting around, but because he suddenly blurts it out, it feels made up and irrelevant. This next point in a way sort of breaks the sequence for me. It's what I've deemed unwarranted villain aggression. So, during the climax of the story, Hachimaru agrees to the villain's demands and stops his heart so that he can get the soul of a famed samurai, which is also their blade, so that he can sell it. The villain gets the soul and has won. But it turns out, Hachimaru is one of the blessed ones who is able to be reincarnated as a samurai. The villain gets the sword, and Hachimaru gets to live in spite of stopping his heart. Now, our protagonist has every reason to be pissed off, but the villain is completely free to leave. However, what happens is the villain is outraged at the fact that Hachimaru became a samurai, and started attacking him. This makes no sense. Don't get me wrong, I'm aware that later in the fight he explains that he's going to take Hachimaru's soul and sell that too, but this behavior goes completely against what he has been shown to be. Considering his previous conversation with his goon, he should be proud of how courageous Hachimaru behaved, but instead he got angry. He has no reason to be jealous because he already is a samurai, and he hasn't been shown to be so evil that he'd try to kill a kid after he gave his word and spoke about how he has dignity enough to keep his promise if he kills himself. Next, we have the issue of the fight. This is mostly a problem of a lack of information than anything. We learn throughout the chapter that samurai are capable of suffering cuts and healing pretty quickly. We can deduce that a decapitation is probably the best way to defeat a samurai, but other than that, we don't know. So, why did Hachimaru win? He hit the villain once, and he wasn't using a proper samurai blade, so what happened? Lastly, which also ties into this, we have the issue of the hostage situation. During this entire encounter, Hachimaru's dad was a hostage under threat of death. First of all, I don't understand how they didn't do anything to the dad during or after the fight, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter is the fact that they fade into obscurity right as the chapter ends. They have every chance to use the dad as a means to at the very least get away while Hachimaru heads over, but instead we just see them beat up by the end. Probably the biggest crime amidst this would be the fact that this is Hachimaru's first time outside. It's such a huge moment for the character to finally see the world around him, but instead it is relegated to being a sectioned off panel in the final page. These writing mistakes aren't the end of the world, and I'm sure that 5 chapters from now I'll have forgotten all about them, but they were something I couldn't just ignore or not bring up in my analysis, as they certainly affected me during every time I read through the chapter. So those are my thoughts for the first chapter of Samurai 8. I'm entertained, but I feel like the writing could be better. What did you guys think of the chapter? Are you excited for more? Is sci-fi not your thing? If it is, you should definitely check out Eden Zero, which has, in my opinion, an incredibly strong opening chapter. That's all for now. Like the video or comment to let me know what you thought, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more Samurai 8 content in the future. Until next time, Seal.